Hey there, my name's Porsha Lauri. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And we're back today with another installment of our What Did We Learn? Femme Fatale series. I said that really slow because I kind of forgot what word I was gonna say in the middle of that. And if you couldn't tell by today's outfit, I'm very much trying to get into character. And to make it like a fun game, why don't you guys tell me in the comments what outfit specifically you think I am trying to modernize, if you will. During the revitalization of the teen sex comedy in the 90s, Cruel Intentions, a modernization of the 1988 film Dangerous Liaisons, brought in layered characters, nuanced storylines, and a breath of fresh air into the easily palatable cliches we had been seeing up until this point. While this film is often known for its taboo storyline and female-on-female kiss, I often use this movie as a baseline for your classic redemption arc or anti-hero edit. While rewatching this film in my living room for the umpteenth time, I also came to another realization. Both Sebastian and Catherine fall into many of the cliches we find in the femme fatale character type. So I thought that deemed this movie worthy enough for an entry into our list. For those of you who have never seen Cruel Intentions, here's a little bit of a synopsis. Step-siblings Sebastian Valmont and Catherine Mertoul make a bet that the self-proclaimed ladies' man can't bed newly moved classmate, famous virgin, and principal's daughter Annette Hargrove. For Catherine, she wants Sebastian's car, but if Sebastian wins, he wants the only girl he can't get at this school, Catherine. In return, Sebastian helps Catherine ruin the life of another girl at school, immature and young Cecile Caldwell, for stealing her boyfriend's attention, obviously. So if that sounds interesting to you, or you are also a huge Cruel Intentions fan, as am myself, make sure you stick around and do me a solid to drop a like on this video, then run over to that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it so you can be notified every time I upload, and so you don't miss an entry in this series. If you can't get enough of my opinion about movies, you can roll on over to the Cinema Sit Down podcast. This is a podcast I co-host with my boyfriend and his best friend. We just sit around, we talk about movies, and it's a whole lot of fun. Loved if you joined us over there. As always, I will have all of my social medias in the description box below. You can follow me there for more behind the scenes stuff, to participate in polls, and to just get a general idea of kind of who I am, I guess. Let's get into Cruel Intentions. So in our last entry in this series, I took two movies and kind of compared them to each other. For this movie, we're going to be comparing our two main leads, as I feel that they both fall into this femme fatale, or shall we say masc fatale cliches. First, we will get into Sebastian Valmont. Sebastian is your kind of typical teenage womanizing elitist asshole, for lack of a better term. He is really motivated by taking down others as a form of self-validation. I also believe that due to the fact that we really never see their parents are in another country for the entirety of the film. So I also have to kind of assume that some of his antics are purely for attention from parents that he's not getting attention from.
I read your manifesto.
You did?
Mm-hmm. I must say, I found it rather appalling.
That's a first. Most people praise me for it.
Most people are sheep.
A lot of things are just kind of handed to Sebastian, or he gets away with them. He's clearly a trust fund kid, so there's really not much he can do that he won't be able to get away with. So all that being said, they also make Sebastian not an idiot. He seems to be a very smart kid. Regular teenage life to be so dull, and why he does all of these antics to try to create excitement in his life. Nothing else really brings him joy. This is also showcased a lot in his wardrobe. It doesn't seem as though there's light behind his eyes. He doesn't really have a passion for life, and all of his clothes and his general demeanor kind of match that. The only time we ever see him really in anything colorful or brighter is when he is putting on a facade. As I was saying, he finds joy in the teardown of these rich heiresses and debutantes. As a result of doing all of this, it's very easy to pick up that this character also lacks empathy. He really doesn't see outside of himself. He's very selfish. So after Sebastian's most recent embarrassed debutante, his therapist daughter, oddly enough,
She was overcharging.
he comes home to find Catherine, and she asks him basically to do her a couple favors while she is working on her own antics, if you will. We'll get into Catherine's piece in a little bit, so I will kind of skip over it for now, but don't worry, we'll run back to it. The essential part for Sebastian's portion of Catherine's story is that they make a bet that he can't bed Annette Hargrove. Annette Hargrove is a 17-year-old girl from the Midwest, and she writes an article that goes viral in 1999 standards about her virginity and how important it is and the importance of it, and basically an article that was like pro abstinence somehow. And I really would love if they would tell me how this came across Sebastian's desk. Like, did he see it in the waiting room and he was like, he read the article and then was like, this is my next target? Sebastian sees the article, reads about it, thinks it's a bunch of hooey, for lack of a better term, and decides that this is going to be his next target. And basically he finds out that her father is going to become the new headmaster at their private school, which means that Annette will be spending her senior year in New York. Catherine does not believe that this is capable of happening. She thinks the girl's too good, and especially given his reputation at the school and the fact that Annette's father will be the headmaster, there's no way she's going to want to even speak to him, let alone date him. And so they decide to make a bet on it. If Catherine wins, she gets Sebastian's very cool car, which is like, I think it's a Porsche. Don't quote me on that though. It could be a Bentley. It also could just be any other fancy vehicle because I know nothing about cars. But whatever, he has a very fancy, cool car. For his side, he gets to win Catherine?
No! God, please, no! No!
Now, because Sebastian is our main character and it's the 90s, I believe we're kind of required to have a enemies to lovers storyline. Very quickly, we move from Sebastian figuring out that she's moving to figuring out that she's spending the summer at his aunt's house. So he finds out that Annette is going to be at his aunt's place for the summer, and this gives him prime access to kind of put his plans into motion before she can really hear about the type of guy he actually is. He strikes up a tempestuous relationship with Annette. He does make it very clear that he doesn't share her thoughts and opinions regarding teens and love and sex. However, he's thoroughly intrigued by her. And on the other side, I have no idea why Annette falls for his stuff. Because yes, I know I'm watching this with adult eyes, so I see through a lot of his BS. Even when watching this film as a teenager, I never totally understood why Annette was falling for Sebastian. He is sort of charming, but he's also a little creepy.
Be super duper sexy if you lost all the clothes.
Huh?
And he just doesn't share anything in common with her, which I don't know if that makes her more intrigued, or I'm not really sure exactly what makes her be open-minded about him. But there are a few moments with Annette specifically where he is joyful. So I can understand why he starts to kind of change his outlook on her. But Annette does share with Sebastian that she is not coming to New York or to the school fully blind. She's been told a little bit about him in particular and why he should be avoided. Eventually, Sebastian finds out that the person who has been telling lies about him, or exposing him, as we should actually say, has actually been Mrs. Caldwell. So Sebastian starts sleeping with Cecile to help out Catherine, but to get back at Mrs. Caldwell. So that's going on in the background. Again, I think more of that scenario has to do with Catherine, so we'll get to it when we get to her. In the midst of all of that, Sebastian is spending more and more time with Annette, and he is beginning to change, or so it seems, more and more.
Stop it, it's distracting.
Even to a point where before he sleeps with Cecile, he sits down with Catherine and says, hey, you do realize we're ruining a completely innocent girl for, you know, your list of reasons. I'm not sure if we should be doing that. And I don't think pre-Annette Sebastian would have said something like this. Sebastian and Annette eventually do get to a point where they almost hook up, but he feels bad, so he ends up leaving. So when Sebastian returns to his aunt's the following day, he finds out that Annette had actually left in the middle of the night and decided to go stay with another family friend instead. And he meets her at the train station, and we have this really, honestly, it's a really beautiful, like, couple of scenes. Like, I really do love when they finally get together. I do have to talk about this just for a hot second, but like the scene of them meeting up at Grand Central Station, and she's coming up the escalator and she's wearing the red and he's wearing the blue, and like the way that those colors are like opposite and then they come together. If you are part of the audience and you're buying into all of this and you're on team Sebastian, you might feel like I did, a little sense of like, he found what love is. Even though, like, we should be hating this man. This man is the worst man on the planet. The bar is on the floor, okay? After Sebastian and Annette get together, he is a different man. He returns back to his home. He's just kind of in his own little euphoria. He's, again, smiling, a genuine smile. Catherine sees him on the phone with Annette in a room, and he tells her he loves her before hanging up. So Catherine realizes what's going on. She realizes that Sebastian is under Annette's spell, if you will, and he's become a loser as a result. And this is where Catherine uses her powers of manipulation to change how he feels about this. And I think before we get into kind of the end of Sebastian's storyline, we should backtrack, and it's now time for Catherine. Catherine is Sebastian's type A stepsister. She spends her time doing a lot of academic ventures, or so it seems, while secretly living a little bit of a more nefarious life, packed with hookups and lots of drugs. So basically, Catherine was dating this guy and liked him, I guess, or liked him enough. And while she was dating this guy, he started seeing this other girl named Cecile Caldwell. But the way that they display Cecile is that she is like an oversized toddler. But as a result of all of this, Catherine can't have that. It's going to look bad on her reputation, especially for this, you know, well-liked family to have dropped Catherine. It's just not a good look. Not to mention, I guess, it's kind of unlike Sebastian, whom I truly believe is doing a lot of this for hoping for parental attention, and then maybe the care that he has never probably received from his parents. I believe that Catherine does this fully of her own volition. I think that she just realized that she has to take care of herself, and so it's not that she's doing this for attention. She's making strategic chess moves to continue to always move to the top in life. In order for Catherine to take down Cecile, but to not be obvious about it, because unlike Sebastian, she's not trying to create a reputation for being someone that takes people down. She's trying to do it all covertly. So she basically sets up a series of small schemes that eventually will get back to Cecile and take her down, so that by the time she starts school, she will already be the resident school trollop. Bring back trollop. That's actually a really funny word. So the first part of Catherine's big master plan takes Cecile under her wing as her role model to set her up so that she is a little bit ahead going into their very prestigious private school. Catherine is kind of basically telling her like how to be part of society.
My advice is to sleep with as many people as possible.
She notices that Cecile has quite a flirtationship and maybe a little crush on her music teacher. Realizes that Ronald also likes Cecile, and so she basically creates a scenario where they're writing love letters back and forth, and she's gonna be the one that delivers them so that they can have this like secret romance. Now, Sebastian comes into the picture around this time. This is when he realizes that Mrs. Caldwell is the one who was ratting him out to Annette. So now he's part of this entire thing. Catherine tells Cecile that the thing about sleeping with people is that everybody does it, but nobody talks about it. And this is part of Catherine's grand plan to make Cecile the proper trollop of their prep school. So Catherine has Sebastian sleeping with Cecile behind Ronald's back. Meanwhile, Catherine also is hooking up with Ronald. Now, I don't know if they are hooking up the entire time or if they just have one night of debauchery. All I know is that we find him in the drawer of her bed. So, I mean, I'm gonna assume that wasn't the first time and that there were numerous situations of this going on the whole time. Which also then makes me want to question Ronald, because Ronald is in college. So, I mean, we're not gonna get into the age demographics of this movie, okay? We don't have time for that today. I mean, for him to be in love with Cecile, but then sleeping with Catherine, like, he's just as bad as everybody else in this movie. Like, the way that he leaves her bedroom, like, you guys are crazy. I'm like, you're here too, dude. I think that watching all of this too, we never see Catherine have any doubt about what she's doing. There's never a moment where she thinks twice about what the outcome of all of this is going to be. To me, Catherine is the real, like, she is the one that's actually cold-blooded, which I guess is kind of sexist when you take a look at both of these characters, because they're both doing the same thing, but you casted that the woman is going to be the one who's truly evil. Catherine does manage to expose the relationship between Ronald and Cecile, and it doesn't really do much in terms of ruining Cecile's reputation. So I'm not really sure that Catherine's plan actually worked out in her favor. I would actually argue that Catherine's plan blew up entirely. So this is where we get to our two scenarios finally coming together. So Catherine hears Sebastian telling Annette that he loves her, and this is where she pulls her ultimate master manipulation move. He slept with her and then told her the next day that he never wanted anything to do with her because Catherine told him he was incapable of changing. And she says that the true bet wasn't really about whether or not he could bed Annette. It was how much control does she truly have over Sebastian? Manipulate all of those situations so that she always comes out on top, because he was ready to sleep with her and she's like,
I don't fuck losers.
So ultimately he leaves Catherine and he runs after Annette. He can't get through to Annette. Annette refuses to speak to him for obvious reasons. He ends up giving Annette his notebook and says, you know, if you want to really know the real me, who I was before you, everything's in here. It also goes over how I truly feel about you. Sebastian stays out all night and he's hoping to be able to talk to Annette. Meanwhile, Catherine calls Ronald and tells him that Sebastian beat her up and that she's really, really scared and she doesn't know where he is. So Ronald takes off on a wild goose chase to go find Sebastian. Meanwhile, he was sleeping in a bed with Cecile. So I guess we're to understand that Cecile and Ronald figured out a way for them to just be together without needing those other two to be in the mix. Ronald does eventually locate Sebastian and they don't really have a proper conversation. You know, he only knows what Catherine's told him and Sebastian knows the truth. And so he's trying to tell him, like, dude, just like leave me alone right now. Whatever Catherine said, like, she's lying to you. So they're having an altercation that ends up in Central Park near a busy street, and Annette just randomly shows up as they are fighting. As a result, she gets thrown into the street, and she's about to get hit by a car when Sebastian comes in, gets her out of the way, and takes the brunt of the hit. We later see him lying on the ground, but he is still awake, and he's looking at Annette, and he tells her he loves her truly, and she exchanges the same. Now, the next scene that we dash to immediately is that he died. So we are at the high school. They're holding a memoriam for Sebastian, and in the bathroom before Catherine goes to take her speech at the podium, her and Annette have a brief interaction in the bathroom where Annette apologizes for her loss and mentions how she kind of knew Sebastian, but not well. And Catherine kind of just dejects her and barely pays any mind to her. But so afterwards, she gets to the podium and she begins her speech, trouncing on about how much she cared for and loved her questionable at times stepbrother. Meanwhile, in the audience, we see all these kids and they're whispering, and slowly everyone starts leaving out of the school, and they're all outside. And so Catherine stops her speech. She's like, what's going on? This is so inappropriate. Does no one have any respect? And they finally all go outside to find that what the students have been talking about and what they're passing out are copies of Sebastian's leather-bound notebook. It had to have been planned in advance and like a lot of secrecy so that no one revealed to Catherine what was about to happen to her. I have to applaud it, and I was like, she's the king of schemes, all right? Like, the final piece of redemption is the headmaster coming up to her, taking her necklace and revealing that there are DRUGS's in her necklace. And we just see kind of like a single tear fall from her eyes and the shaking of heads. And you know that she's basically in for it now. The illusion is shattered. Now that we have broken down both of our femme fatale and masc fatale characters, let's break down and figure out who reigns supreme. Confidence and mystery. I'm sorry, we gotta hand it to my girl Catherine. Let's go. So the thing is, Sebastian is this like somewhat seen as like suave, charming ladies man, but to me, I see the layers of like doubt and insecurity, and I don't believe anything this man is going to tell me, period. Whereas Catherine has a very good facade on it. I believe her even though I know I shouldn't believe her. I trust her even though I know I shouldn't trust her, and a part of me kind of wants to be her. She's on a whole nother level. I think in 2025 we might coin her as a narcissist. When it comes to the independent overachiever, again, it's going to our girl Catherine, okay? There is no one like her. She is extremely independent, an extreme overachiever, and she has to do all of this in order to have fun. Like, you know the saying, work hard, play harder? She is very much every sense of that saying. But let's talk about who has the best riz. So while I do think that Catherine is extremely confident, I think Sebastian has actual charm. He can be kind of funny, he is quick-witted, and I am more likely to share a laugh with him than I am with Catherine. Now, when we talk about how they manipulate their victims, I do think we have to hand it to Catherine as well, because I think that men sleeping to exploit women is a tale as old as time. With Catherine, she's far more superior in terms of mindfuckery, and that is a far more interesting take than just the merely physical aspect of it. She really can change the course of what's going to happen based on how she manipulates her victims. And that is truly terrifying. When it comes to style, I think this movie nailed it. So I've never seen the original Dangerous Liaisons. However, I do know that it is a period piece. There are certain scenes and certain lines that are almost directly lifted from its source material, which I think is a really cool connection to the two. The way that people are dressed, the overall feel and the mood is so quintessentially 90s, and I really feel like they nailed that. New York, but as someone who watched a lot of media growing up that had a lot to do with New York, that was just a popular place for shows and TV and movies and stuff to take place. It did such a great job of encapsulating the look of that era. In Cruel Intentions, they didn't necessarily worry about what was cool and trendy in the world. They based it off of what was gonna work best with the characters. So we see Annette in a lot of soft pastels, a lot of thicker comfort fabrics, and obviously a little bit more reserved, more conservative. Whereas we see Catherine dressed in really like dark jewel tones. We see her in a lot of bold fits, things that are very fitted to her body, but also look like they were probably custom made for her. So she looks like she looks like money, if you will. With Sebastian, he is just kind of a plain, like a solid slate color. He almost doesn't really fully exist, which matches his kind of general melancholiness towards life and the lack of joy that he feels on a daily basis. And with Cecile, there's definitely that element of youthfulness, of childhood, of bridging the gap, moving from, middle grade into high school, and the immaturity that comes along with it. Like, I feel like there's a few scenes where Cecile is wearing a dress that I feel is appearing to be a lot more revealing and shorter on her than she realizes. And I think this is because she's a growing girl. And while that dress probably fit her the year prior and looked totally fine, now as she's getting older and taller and filling out, to reveal more, but an unintentional revealing. But overall, I do think that Catherine is the true femme fatale of this film and reigns supreme. I also think that this is very classic in the sense that she is taken down at the end. And to some degree, I guess we could say Sebastian was too, because evil characters are not allowed to have happy endings, at least in how movies were once upon a time made. Also, I didn't want to mention it while I was talking about the original film, but there is another updated modernization of Cruel Intentions. Apparently, it lives on Amazon Prime. There is a Cruel Intentions sequel that we never speak of. It went straight to DVD, and it should have gone straight to hell where it belongs. There was also talks of a Cruel Intentions TV show that never came to fruition. I know that the Amazon one is a TV show, but there was supposed to be another one, and Sarah Michelle Gellar was actually going to be a part of it. But that's gonna do it for this entry of What Did We Learn? Femme Fatales. As always, if you enjoyed this, please do me a solid and drop a like on this video, then run over to that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it, so you'll be notified every time I upload and so you don't miss any entry in this series. If you can't get enough of my opinion on movies, go roll over to the Cinema Sit Down. It's the podcast I co-host with my boyfriend and his best friend. It'll be all linked in the description. Follow me on all my social medias. I'm trying to get more active, so I swear there will be content awaiting you in those locations. Our next entry will be in the indie sleaze era. We're gonna be taking a look at a little movie called Spring Breakers. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.